To quote a Cadicarus,
spoilers alright, okay, nice.
Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is not something I thought I'd be talking about here today. I didn't think I'd be speaking on the MCU at all, not for a long while anyway. But you know, something here compels me. Going in, I expected very little. The trailers weren't doing anything crazy for me, and I've been let down by a lot of Marvel's output in recent times. But the introduction of Kang proper and the promise that this will be quite crucial setup to events moving forward motivated me just enough to go see it. And I'm glad I did, because, fellas, I had the biggest smile on my face coming out of this thing. It might be a new favourite, in fact. It's not some masterpiece, or the new worst movie of all time. It's extremely middle-of-the-road MCU. But it is a film bursting at the seams with fun. It just wants to provide a good time. Quantumania? More like Funtumania. If you're one of those people that love breaking down the logic and rule sets of this universe, and scrubbing through the writing with a razor blade in a several-hour-long video essay, you're probably gonna hate this one. I mean, Endgame is kind of entirely broken by the simple notion that Kang didn't try capturing Scott while he was trapped in the quantum realm for 5 whole hours, for an immediate example off the top of my head. I'm not even saying you're wrong for taking that kind of analytical approach to these movies. Making the biggest film franchise's writing faults known is only gonna help out future creatives, although a lot of this is probably more indicative of extremely rushed schedules than it is raw talent. I'm really not coming at this from any kind of deep angle. I'm not trying to convince you this is anything beyond exactly what it looks like. If you think you're gonna hate it, then yeah, you're probably gonna hate it. All I'm trying to say here is, well, I quite liked the film. It was fun, it hit all the right beats for me personally, and was just a silly, enjoyable romp in a universe I quite like. Not even sure how well it's gonna hold up on rewatch, given that I won't be engaged by the plot reveals alone anymore. Maybe the cracks will start showing more for me, maybe I'll end up hating it just as much as the rest of you. But right now, right at this moment, I feel a need to fight this film's corner. As someone who actually quite enjoys Ant-Man 1, and doesn't even mind and the Wasp all too much, I think the hate these movies get is a tad overblown. You have to take these things into correct proportions, ironically enough. They're not meant to be these big, important moments in the wider MCU. They're just simple, small-scale adventures to help build out the world a little more. If you go in expecting another crucial point in the larger story, then yeah, you're gonna have a bad time. But when treated as the side movies with the comic relief hero who messes with sizing technology and talks to ants, I think there's a lot of fun to be found. And that's a feeling that actually carries over into Quantumania, much to my surprise. Yes, we're playing with way more important toys than we were before. This is definitely far more integral to the overall story than Ant-Man usually gets. I don't really think you could skip this one when doing a big rewatch. But it is still a small, extremely simplistic adventure that, Kang aside, won't have much lasting impact. The world isn't really at all affected by what went on in the quantum realm. Hell, the people within the quantum realm aren't all too affected. They just get some land back and are free of a couple dicks. It was just a fun little quest to stop a tyrant that, ignoring the baggage of that tyrant's background, is still just a side story that helps build out the universe, only a molecular side of that universe this time. It definitely carries the spirit of the other 2 Ant-Man movies where it counts. Maybe not the best final chapter as an ending to his trilogy, but it's certainly not the complete departure from his style of film that I was anticipating. I mean, yeah, I could have done with Scott's Band of Thieves too. The Michael Pena stuff was always fun. And it will eternally bug me that we couldn't find a good continuation of the And the Wasp title we seem to be setting up. It wouldn't entirely fit this story, but Ant-Man and the Wasp versus Kang might have worked. But you know, this continues enough themes and progresses enough characters that I can at least call it a half-successful Ant-Man sequel. And hey, 50% ain't bad. A particularly interesting byproduct of our new setting is the undeniable Star Wars feel the movie gave off. Now, I'm not majorly into that series, I've never even seen the original trilogy in full, but I do like the weird and wonderful sci-fi world it creates, absolutely brimming with creativity and fun. And the black and white, good versus evil, everyone unites for a better tomorrow kinda schlock the best of those films carry is always very enjoyable comfort food. So seeing all of that injected into a franchise I care about a whole lot more, of course it made me smile. The freedom fighter and uprising elements I thought were balanced pretty well, and all the crazy creatures decorating the backgrounds were a lot of fun to watch. There's some real creativity in here. I especially liked the light bulb head and the gooey creature that absolutely would have been voiced by Taika Waititi in another lifetime. They were given just enough screen time to be a fun novelty, without distracting from our main six. Well, that's a bit of a stretch, and calling all 6 of these people equals in this plot is a little generous. Hope and Hank certainly got the short end of the stick here. But everyone still got their moments, and felt used pretty appropriately. I can't really see how you could make Wasp more involved in this particular setup, for example. Plus, all was still better than the Ghostbuster they got for one whole singular scene. Seriously, what was the point of this? I liked that they actually tried expanding on Janet's time and experiences in the quantum realm, something I thought was going to be kinda forgotten after that place served its narrative purpose in Endgame. Nothing gets lingered on for too long to get tedious, but there's just enough one-off lines of dialogue and know-how on her end to give you plenty of ideas, and get you thinking about everything she might have gotten up to in her 30 years down here. And although he was completely useless in this particular story, I love the unspoken nature of this guy's rise to power, giving us an entire narrative about the freedom fighters coming to a sad, manipulated, and likely bloody end, all without directly saying any of it. Note how I'm calling him this guy, not Crichton or whatever it was. That's how pointless Murray is in this, I don't even remember the character's name. All working to build out the quantum realm, and go that distance to make it feel like an actual world, with history, rather than the hastily thought out backdrop for Ant-Man 3 it might have otherwise been. And of course, that's massively helped out by this world's current ruler, the undisputed standout of the film.
Jonathan Majors, Kang the Conqueror!
Jonathan Majors just crushes it, showing such versatility from his previous MCU work, giving Kang so many little nuances and quirks, while still bringing an incredibly imposing atmosphere, often invoking vibes similar to Darth Vader, interestingly enough. You can absolutely see how this guy is our next Thanos, but you can also feel just how different those two characters are. Apparently this is a pretty comics-accurate approach too, at least if I'm understanding the YouTube GOAT right. I have no authority here, I've never touched a Marvel comic. Could have done with a memorable character theme though. Something real ominous would have done wonders for that Vader-like feel. No one in this franchise has yet topped the masterpiece that accompanies Wenwu. I do hope he comes back though. They leave things pretty unclear on whether or not he died at the end. There is a general vibe that the Council are the next major obstacles instead, but the sheer number of them wouldn't leave much room for character work. And even beyond that, these main 3 all feel like variants, whereas our Kang seems way more complete and individualized. They were hyping up this iteration specifically, so I'm not too worried. The general rule of thumb here is that if you don't directly see the death, then it doesn't really count. I don't think I'd want him to go out this goofily too. The VFX team were trying, but well, they were trying. Flat out goofiness just never tends to work in the MCU. It needs to be blended in with other elements to really land. Case in point. Yeah, I'm not gonna try and defend this one in any way. The setup here is a good and simple option to explain away one of the weirder looking Marvel characters, but the aftermath and actual execution of that character is, a mediocre organism designed only for cringe. It's just the same joke on repeats. Lol, look at the big head trying and failing to intimidate, wow isn't he pathetic? It was mildly funny the first few times, but by the end, this gets extremely tedious. I'm not asking for much substance to these jokes. The entire movie is rather surface level, so if they put all of their depth into the sodding Modoc gags, I'd be a little annoyed. But at least the film has variety. There's not much substance, but we keep switching between different non-substantive characters and scenes. With Modoc, we're stuck on the same 1-2 punch for the entire 2 hours. Just wasn't very good. I think the only time this comes even close to working is when the movie itself gets in on the joke and massively overplays the dramatic death music. I got a small chuckle out of that. Doesn't help that this is something of a fundamental misread of the character. I may not know the finer details about Modoc, but I am aware he's meant to be one of the smartest people alive. That's why the design even slightly works. It's a physical representation of his sheer genius. Humanity literally lost for the gain of knowledge. His face is also usually, like, bloated or puffy, you know, selling the idea that his head has grown unnaturally big. Here though, nope, he's just a fairly comfortable looking, dumb idiot henchman. What a damn travesty it is when this meme is a completely accurate representation. I know he's a silly concept, but you can still play him fairly straight if you put in the efforts. I think that god-awful Avengers game had a half-decent attempt at a truly villainous Modoc. I'll defend the rest of the movie for having that undercurrent of fun that makes it all work, but this guy right here? Nah, you're free to mock him. If the bulk of the movie was Ant-Man Quantumazing, then Modoc was Quantumid. Also, for like half of the runtime, I just couldn't get it out of my head that, holy shit, he looks like Bobby Kotick. I can definitely understand the lukewarm reviews this has been getting, the supposedly substantive character stuff, although executed nicely, isn't anything we haven't seen before, and all at an extremely surface level. Notice I haven't uttered the name Cassie for the entire length of this video yet. Although I do quite like her, she was fun and enjoyable to watch improve at her ant-manery. Crucially, she wasn't instantly better than her dad either, often a pitfall with these kind of replacement characters. Very happy for Catherine Newton for landing such a big role so early on in her career, although it's a shame they had to recast Emma Thurman, apparently without even telling her directly. Damn, what a corporation level of cold. There was also a neat undercurrent of familial strength in there, which was nice to see become the focus towards the end, especially since they opted not to do the whole family meme and monologue our ears off about the power of love or something. That restraint was very refreshing. It was said to us enough simply by seeing just how much more pissed Scott became when Cassie was involved. That Giant Man sequence was particularly awesome. I kinda wish the ending had any real consequences though. I didn't need Scott to die or anything, but at least have him and Hope get trapped in the quantum realm. You know, doing the whole self-sacrifice hero thing. People loved when Spider-Man went through that. But anyway, all of this is to say, the movie's fun. I don't really get the hate. It's no masterpiece of filmmaking, it's not even in the higher tiers of just MCU content, given that it's going to be completely outclassed by the next project in just a couple months. But it's not trying to be the best of the best. It's very much still an Ant-Man 3 in that regard. Just a fun, harmless romp through an interesting corner of the MCU. It's got Hank Pym defeating Kang with an army of hyper-intelligent ants, while a talking goo does a big Kirby suck on some faceless, stormtrooper-esque robots. You cannot say this movie isn't trying to give a good time. And I think that's ultimately why I felt compelled to defend it. So many people are writing this off for being a dumb nothing movie when, for my money, that's exactly what it set out to be. A mediocre, perfectly average film just bursting with a joyous, infectious energy that simply wants to provide a decent popcorn flick. The modern day B-movie. I don't know when, if ever, I'll be talking about the MCU again. I really do not want to get sucked into the toxic cesspit of negativity that is modern online comic book movie discussions. Leave me out of that, please. I just want to enjoy my fun superhero schlock. Besides, you won't need me telling you all the reasons why Guardians 3 is such a masterpiece when it comes out. That's what every big creator's gonna be doing. But not everyone is gonna tell you that Ant-Man 3 is their new favourite Star Wars film. And that's why this video exists. That's all I came here to do, really. So thanks for watching. I'm still working on that big project that I can't say too much about right now. Just wanted to take a few minutes to throw a bone to a film that I don't think many will. It was very dumb, but it was very fun. And I hope more people can go with that and just enjoy the ride. Ironically enough, I'm defending the little guy.
I'm the man who can give you the one thing you want. What's that? Amogus.